But it is hello to our next company, which is Helix Exploration. Now, my sources tell me it is officially the best performing IPO on AIM so far this year, up 2.5 times since coming to the market only 3 months ago in April. So it is a helium exploration and development company focused on helium deposits within the Montana Helium Fairway. This is the fairway that extends from Wyoming to Saskatchewan in Canada. And this week's news is that construction is underway for a road and a well pad. I'm delighted to be joined by the chairman, David Minchin. David, good to see you, and now it's over to you.
Nice to see you, Sarah, and thank you for that good introduction. Thank you as well to Oliver, who gave the presentation before us, a very interesting deck. Sarah was interested to see 100% margin. Here's a new number for you, Sarah, 197% IRR. That's the number from our scoping study. So yes, I'm David Minchin. I'm here to talk to you today about Helix Exploration with our portfolio of low-risk helium exploration assets in the state of Montana in USA. It's been a big year for Helix since we listed in April via an oversubscribed IPO. And as Sarah mentioned, we found out just yesterday that we've been the most successful AIM IPO by percentage gain so far in 2024. We're up about 2.5 times since listing, but still with a long way to go. Now, why do I say we've got such a long way to go? Well, by limited amount of shares we took, limited amount of cash we took in the IPO to only £7.5 million from an offer book of over 22 million. We've only got 120 million shares on issue. That means that with a share price bouncing around 25p, we've got a market cap of about £30 million. Which is a long way behind our other listed peers, such as Pulsar on the TSX with a market cap of just over £50 million, or indeed Helium One on AIM with their market cap just over £70 million. It also leaves us a long way behind our scoping study NPV8 number of $304 million. So we're looking forward to a very active Q3, which we hope will add the value to the share price, which we're currently lacking. We've got a long way to go. Currently, we've commenced civils over the weekend. We are on track to commence drilling in Ingomar, the first of our 2-well Q3 drilling campaign. We're looking to start that in early August. And we are fully funded for these operations and beyond. So how did we end up as the best performing AIM IPO of 2024? Well, it starts with the management team. The company was founded by a very experienced helium man, Bo Sears, our chief executive, who invested his own money into securing about 11,000 acres worth of leases over Ingomar. Bo is a very experienced guy. He's had 25 years experience of looking for helium, which in a commodity which is so closely tied to high-tech and high-value engineering and manufacturing processes. The size of the market 25 years ago was so small. There aren't many people who spent 25 years in this space. The second very important member of our board I'd point you towards is Mr. Greg Peters. Greg spent 10 years working as director of helium for Lind and for Praxair. Basically, if Bo knows everything to do with helium from the subsurface to the plant, Greg knows everything to do about helium from the plant to the end user. So between the two of them, we've got the full spectrum of helium knowledge at our fingertips. Our other independent non-exec is Keith Spiegelmeier. Keith is the big dog in the room. Every board needs a big dog, and Keith is our one. He's got deep experience of M&A deep experience of selling big projects to big players. Bringing up the rear is for two London boys, Ryan Neitz, our finance director, and myself, who is the chairman in this exciting company. So the other reason we have ended up as the best performing AIM IPO of 2024, well, it helps to have the right commodity, and helium certainly is the right commodity. I've been in the helium space since the year 2000. And what I've seen is a story of continuous supply surges, continuous supply shortages, and demand surges, driven by growth in medical and high-tech manufacturing applications, and which have seen prices increasing at a 20% CAGR over the last decade. So where the price used to be $100 an MCF, bulk products are now trading at over $500 to $550 an MCF, and end users, even significant end users such as the US Army via the US Defense Logistics Agency, are buying helium in various container sizes at a blended average price of over $1,000 per MCF. It's about 100 times the value of natural gas. It's a very high margin operation to be in. With the rise in AI, we're expecting global demand to be pushed further, and specifically with the CHIPS Act in the United States, which is onshoring a lot of the high-tech manufacturing from China back into the USA. We're expecting to see significant domestic demand increase in the United States, which is where Montana, perfectly positioned between the East Coast and the West Coast, is in an ideal position to supply those markets. I might have mentioned we were the best performing AIM IPO of 2024, and a lot of people say, why? Well, we've consistently delivered on our work program. We've delivered on it on time and in budget. This comes down to the management team and the hard work of people like Bo and his team in Montana, that we've had an exceptionally busy first two quarters of 2024. Q2 kicked off with our IPO onto the London market. As I said, it was a massively oversubscribed book, about 22 million in the offer book, of which we took down £7.5 million, $9.5 million, sufficient capital to cover our work program and beyond. IPOs are quite stressful, and many teams, sort of see that as the end point and can take a breather. For us, it was the starting gun, and we've been running hard since then. Less than 2 weeks after the IPO, we were able to announce a binding agreement to use the Cardwell KB 150 D1D drilling rig owned by Treasure State Drilling in Oilmont in Montana. We were also able to announce a very important partnership with Petroleum Consultants LLC, based in Billings in Montana. They are a well engineering group, and have brought with them a wealth of local knowledge and connections to nearby operators, which have ensured we're able to operate very, very smoothly in the state of Montana. Later in the quarter, we delivered on our advertised scoping study, which exceeded all expectations, certainly all of my expectations. It delivered an NPV8 of $303 million on an initial capex of only 19.7 million. We did a variety of things which has been able to bring the capital and the operating cost, including using modular plants, modular growth, and using byproduct hydrocarbon from the Amsden formation to feed into cogen, which kept all of the operating costs down and meant we didn't have to import grid electricity. That gives the IRR, which I told Sarah about, of 197%, and a net revenue of $605 million over a 29-year life of operation. That's after capex, that's after opex, that's after tax, that's after royalty. As I mentioned, helium is a very lucrative business to be in once you find the helium. Speaking of finding the helium, you would think that having Ingomar project with an NPV of over 300 million would be sufficient for us. No, it was not. We are executing plans which have been several years in the making. And so we moved on the acquisition of a project called Rudyard, which is a very special project for us. This is a proven helium discovery with helium flow to surface at up to 1.3% helium, decent flow rates. I don't feel the acquisition has been fully understood or valued by the market. It's part of a bigger plan of the companies to organically grow the company through strategic acquisition of low risk exploration and appraisal projects. It has contingent resources of 480 million cubic feet. That's an in situ value of more than $250 million. In-house estimates for NPV are between 100 and 150 million. Analysts have put a target price of 93p on the Helix share on the back of this acquisition, while we're still at around 25p. We believe we're undervalued. The vendor of the project believes that we're undervalued, which is why he took the majority of his fee in shares. But I'm not worried about being undervalued because we're fully funded. We're able to appraise Rudyard to unlock the value of the acquisition without having to dilute long-term shareholders. And that's a very important principle of Helix, to act in the interest of our long-term shareholders and to minimize dilution through organic growth wherever we can. So what's next? Our immediate focus is on drilling of Clink-1, which is testing our flagship Ingomar Dome project. Ingomar has got a potential 2.3 billion cubic feet of helium in a stacked reservoir system sat on top of a Sumatra thrust in a domed anticline. Importantly, this is not a wildcat well. Non-flammable nitrogen gas has been identified in every horizon, in the Amsden, in the Charles, and in Flathead. Flathead's our primary target. It's the main regional reservoir hosting primary helium production across Montana. Charles and Amsden are upside, but it's upside where gas has already been discovered, 195 foot in the Amsden and between 145 and 175 foot in the Charles. With even gas being identified in the Flathead, 10 to 26 foot identified in a wireline, and then it was never flow tested 6 miles down dip away from the crest of the closure. So where we're drilling in Clink-1 on the crest of the closure, we're hoping for some very positive results. We say that nitrogen identified on every horizon. That's significant because every helium find in Montana has been associated with nitrogen. We also know there's helium in the system because shortly after collecting these licenses, Bo did a gas and soil anomaly across a survey across the entire closure, where he identified the highest helium in soil anomaly he's ever seen, adjacent to the Hilton wellhead. So we know this system is no different to any other system that is found in Montana. Where there is nitrogen, there is helium. So we're drilling at Clink-1, which we've already commenced with the starting of the civils work. All we're testing the grade and the flow rate from our various horizons of our 3 stacked reservoirs. So we're able to appraise the closure and, fingers crossed, be able to announce a commercial discovery in a few months' time, in a few weeks' time. After that, we'll be moving the rig and the services on to drill in Rudyard. Now, I've already said Rudyard is a very special project. It's a proven helium discovery. Geologically, it's very, very similar to Ingomar, by which I mean that it's a stacked reservoir system on top of a major structural fault, which is acting as both the releasing mechanism and the migration pathway for helium. The difference is, as I said, this has already been proven. It's already got helium at 1.3% and a decent flow rates in 2 discovery wells. You can see the map on the right-hand side there. The discovery wells were drilled at the crest of the closure. The section, the 620-acre section where the discovery was made, belonged to a landowner other than the one who we did our deal with. We weren't able to get access to those. So we're drilling just to the east of that closure, the Darwin number 1. There's 484,000 cubic feet of helium gas in situ in contingent resources. According to our CPR, all we need to do to convert those contingent resources into reserves and to be able to declare an economic discovery is to conduct a 30-day flow test. If it's flowing at the rates which we saw in the open hole drill stem tests, which we've got the historic results for, then we'll be able to declare commerciality and accelerate Rudyard into production. So the current situation is we've got 2 low-risk exploration and appraisal projects with combined NPV somewhere between $400 and $450 million, and an undervalued listing with a market cap of only £30 million. So the question is, when and how will we be able to unlock this value? Well, the how is with the drill bit, and the when is right now. This process has already commenced with construction of the civils. You can see the photos on the right-hand side of the roadway, which we saw. These photos came over the weekend. We're constructing a 7.5 mile long roadway, snaking across the plains to the well pad. After the pad has been constructed, we will be able to commence mobilization work. And expecting to start drilling in early August. So for the next 3 months, we have a cascade of news flow. There will be, in a few weeks' time, we will be announcing spud. After that, we will be obliged to announce any significant gas shows which we identify as we drill through the Amsden and the Charles and Flathead formations and beyond into the fractured basement play in the Precambrian. On completion of the well, we'll run wireline and be able to announce any significant looking gas columns there ahead of our testing program. We'll then need to case and cement so we can perforate, take our first gas samples. First gas samples will allow us to ascertain the grade of the system, and then we can move directly on to our well testing. So the well test will be 30 days. We'll be able to take the results from the well testing, feed them directly into the scoping study, and announce, hopefully, not just commerciality, but also give an idea of what the economic returns of this project will be based on the parameters which we use to define our scoping study. And the great thing is we're operating in Montana. I suppose that's a final part of what's made us the best performing IPO of 2024, is that we're operating in a low-cost jurisdiction, which is near to major end users. Operating Montana is a dream. Both wells came in below expected costs when we went out for tender. So we've taken the unusual step of publishing our quoted AFE costs. It's important. It demonstrates the potential of the company to deliver cost-effective exploration and development in the state of Montana. Exploration and development. Development is important. We're here to take projects into production. As I said, we raised $9.5 million in April's oversubscribed IPO, which means that we're spending less than half of the cash raised on our current exploration program. This ensures that we're fully funded for exploration and beyond. So that allows us to progress directly from appraisal into detailed engineering, into getting a costed construction program, and to orchestrate as far as possible non-dilutive construction finance through debt, through pre-sales, and through other methods. Looking over horizon, there may also be additional project pipeline activity as we position Helix through organic growth to become a disruptive new force, a disruptive supplier of helium to the North American market, a sort of company that shifts the needle by focusing on large-scale, low-risk, drill-ready targets and projects, which can shift the needle in terms of helium supply to the undersupplied North American market, and get the significant investors to sit up and take notice. So that's where we are now. That's where we're going to be in the future. The best performing AIM IPO of 2024 is poised on the cusp of continued exponential growth as we prepare to unlock the value from our portfolio of low-risk helium projects. What that means is we've got 2 great projects with large closures, stacked reservoir systems, proven gas, ready and waiting for the kiss of the drill bit. We're fully funded for exploration and beyond. We're looking to grow organically with a strong ethos of delivering cost-effective exploration and development to minimize dilution to long-term shareholders. What this means, it's the right time to be Helix. It's the right time to be in Helix. And I invite all shareholders, all long-term holders to come with us on this exciting journey. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over to Sarah for some questions.
You enjoyed that, David. You enjoyed that. You enjoyed that. Let's hope that you keep that enthusiasm and those smiles going.
Look, it's a fantastic project. It's an exciting project to be in because things are moving rapidly. We've only been listed for 3 months, and already we've got boots on the ground, roads being dug, rigs ready to start, and a summer in Montana.
Right, Montana. So you said you're close to end users, but when I looked at slide 9, I was thinking, gosh, that looks lonely. It's quite barren. There was just one truck there. But talk to us about your neighbors on the Montana Helium Fairway, because it's already hosting, producing helium sites. I'm thinking about North American Helium. They're there.
North American Helium are the largest primary helium producer in the world. And yeah, they are our neighbours on the same fairway, just north of the border up in Canada. It demonstrates that the thesis isn't just a theory; it's something that works. You know, people are already doing what we're doing and making money out of it. We're just doing what we're doing on the benefit of a quarter of a century of knowledge and experience operating on this very belt.
Okay, so Darby asks, if found, how do you propose to process the gas, post-wellhead, and store the helium?
So we're looking at using pressure swing adsorption plants. That's adsorption. And it's basically, this is going to be a very simple gas to process because it's once you've stripped out the natural gas, which as far as we can tell is only occurring in the Amsden Formation, you're in a position you've basically got a bimodal gas. It's nitrogen plus helium. So it's a very, some helium plants need to be very complex if you're separating out carbon dioxide, if you've got H2S or other nasties. From historical well tests, we're not seeing any of those. So you use pressure swing adsorption to produce a compressed helium gas, which you can then just load into tube trailers and you'd be selling it to the mine gate.
And how confident are you that you'll be finding helium in commercial quantities? Now, I know you are Mr. Optimism, but right, just bear your soul and using hard facts. How confident are you will find helium in commercial quantities?
So people may look at the chance of success numbers in the prospectus. Chance of success numbers, I personally hate them because you either do or you don't. There's no 30% on a this is it's either there or it isn't. I have a great deal of confidence that it's there, and that's based on the knowledge of the system. And I don't mean my knowledge of the system. I mean Bo's knowledge of the system. He spent a quarter of a century working on this belt. He's put his own money into securing these licenses. He wouldn't have done it if he didn't think there was helium there. And he's basing that opinion on sound, factual, scientific evidence. That there is nitrogen identified and tested out of the Amazon Formation and the Charles Formation. There is gas identified and not tested out of the Flathead Formation. And everywhere where you've had a high-grade helium discovery on the Flathead, on the Montana Helium Fairway, it's been associated with nitrogen. So that, combined with the evidence that we have where we've got nitrogen found adjacent to the wellhead in the Hillerson 1, which penetrated into the Amsden, which flowed nitrogen gas but was never assayed for helium. The upside is there to find it. And you know what? If it's not there, I'd say I don't know where it is, but I do know where it is, because if it's not there, it'll be in Rudyard. And we know it's in Rudyard because it's already been tested and it's already been proven. So, it's the benefit of having 2 bites off the same apple, or in fact, because we're working on stacked reservoir systems where there's 4 reservoirs to test in Ingomar and 3 reservoirs to test in Rudyard, we're actually getting 7 bites off the same apple from 2 wells, which are only costing 4.1 million to drill both. So, I'm in a very positive place.
Okay, so you mentioned 2 bites of the apple. Therefore, are you aiming to establish 2 production hubs, and quite soon?
That would be the plan, yeah. My plan would be to get both of them into production before the end of 2025. Maybe one first and then the other, to get the other one in mid-26, depending on finance arrangements, basically. But certainly when you're negotiating with major end users for helium, it's important to get diversity of supply. Say if you're the helium buyer for General Electric, and you're producing MRI scanners out of your manufacturing facility in California, and you've signed a contract to get all of your supply from a company in Ingomar, and then the plant goes down for maintenance, whether planned or unplanned. That's how purchasing managers lose their jobs. So you need diversity of supply so that you can sell directly to the major end users. You need to have 2 separate reservoirs, 2 separate plants, and that's how you can ensure that you get the best price for your helium and the best returns for your helium shareholders.
Okay, we've got 2.5 minutes and 3 more questions, please.
Oh no, I'll be quicker.
So Bo is a big name within the industry. Then you've also got the big dog who's got the big experience in M&A on the board as well. So is that the plan, to be looking for other acquisitions even before?
Definitely, we want to grow the company organically. We've got other projects which we would like to target. We'd like to see ourselves growing to become an agglomerator in the space, and focusing on the North American area, the area that we know best.
Okay, you've got the Cardwell KB150 D1D drilling rig from Treasure State Drilling. You're going to be using that for the aggressive Q3 appraisal drilling campaign. Should you want to extend that drilling campaign, would that rig be available for you to use?
Certainly, yes.
Very good. And finally, David, Marion has given you loads of compliments, and he says, do you have the reporting procedures in process, and also things like checking seismic activity through the drilling?
So we've got a full set of well monitoring, well management, working with petroleum consultants to ensure that the operation goes as smoothly as it possibly can. There is, of course, it's an operation in a remote part of Montana, even though we're well connected to service providers and lines of service. There's still things that can go wrong during the process. However, we're giving it the best shot that we can with the best team that we have.
Lovely. David Minchin, Chairman of Helix Exploration. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
Well,
very much, Sarah.